Hello, one and all. This is Luckless LoveLinks, and welcome back to the final episode of Virtue's Last Reward. I went ahead and grabbed the rest of the secret files. It actually took me quite a while. I didn't really feel like doing the puzzle, so I just frankly looked up the answers. People had requested that I read the secret files out with all of you, so I thought I'd do one. I actually finished the game and I didn't even realize it. It was I finished the proper ending and even the secret ending. I guess the PC version, you don't have to get all the golden files to get the secret ending. And I didn't even realize it until people told me that I'd finished the whole thing. So that's why I didn't do kind of like a proper conclusion in the last video. I was asked to do the secret files to read them out, and this is going to be the stream where I do it and wrap up the series. And when this comes out, I should also almost right away afterwards be releasing the first episode of Zero Time Dilemma, which I'm excited for, to wrap up the trilogy. And then after that, if I'm feeling like it, I don't know, I might take a break and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start AI the Somnium Files, which I've heard is really, really awesome. So without further ado, I picked the most like relaxing area with the best like kind of calmest music to do the reading to, because the music's going to be playing. I actually had to turn off the sound so the waterfall wasn't constantly playing in the background. So you won't hear the sounds of the menu, but maybe that's okay because it's honestly not the greatest sounds in the world. Let's begin. I'm kind of interested to see what the secret files are going to look like. I think I read some of these before. Like this isn't, some of them don't seem to be all that interesting, so I'll probably skip some of them. The AB, it's almost like tutorial stuff. AB gate refers to the door of the AB room. Most elevator doors open horizontally, but this one opens and closes vertically. Huh. I didn't really notice that. Most elevators also include a safety feature that prevents the door from closing. If anything obstructs it, these doors have no such safety feature. Bracelet 1. Each participant has a bracelet attached to their left wrist. If a participant breaks the rules or fails to fulfill certain conditions, then a set of 4 needles in the bracelet will inject them with 2 chemicals in succession. There are only 2 situations which will cause the bracelets to come off. All right, so this is just repeating what we already knew. AI. AI is short for artificial insemination, which is a process by which eggs are fertilized with the use of a male organ. Okay, it is commonly used in the breeding of dairy, cattle, and pigs, but it has also been... Oh, I'm being told that in this case, AI stands for artificial intelligence, which is another thing entirely. Okay, that's kind of funny. Have a nice... What is circle, circle, circle 1? Words 0 the third says before he leaves. There are a few variations. Have a nice trick, have a nice trap, have a nice traitor. Okay. So like these are like little Easter egg things also, I guess. Quantum computer, device built by Tom Kwan at Boise. A device built by Tom Kwan, a Boise, Idaho. Okay, I thought they meant like at Boise. It's Boise, Idaho. I do know how to pronounce that. A Boise, Idaho commuter. That's actually a lie. Okay. A quantum computer is a highly advanced machine that uses quantum phenomena, such as superposition and entanglement, to perform calculations. Let's say, for example, that you want to determine the prime factors of 5183. A Van Neumann-style computer, let's call him Paul. Paul, like, what? Like Paul Newman? Okay. Would say, can I divide it by 2, 3, 5, and just run through numbers like that till it got the answer. Mr. Kwan, on the other hand, the computer, not the imaginary commuter, would just look at 5183 and say, obviously it's 71 times 73. A traditional computer with n bits can only be in one of 2 to the power n states at once, but a quantum computer with n qubits can be in up to 2 to the power n states simultaneously. This means a quantum computer can complete calculations that are currently impossible. That's amazing, Mr. Kwan. Are you seeing anybody? Floor A graffiti. Someone has written 2 Milkman Go comedy on the wall in the warehouse on floor A. Presumably it refers to a pair of milkmen visiting a comedy club. Sentence construction, however, is obviously wrong. There must be a reason why. The Nonary Game. I don't think we need to read that. We know what it is. We know the rules. Supplementary rules. We've been through this a number of times. Understand the pair solo. Bracelet points is BP. Yeah. The number 9 door. I think we get all this. Total lunar eclipse. At certain times, the sun, earth, and moon align in such a way that the moon is completely within the earth's shadow. This causes the moon to appear reddish-brown in color as light from the sun passes through the earth's atmosphere and reflects off the moon's surface. Incidentally, the game refers to a lunar eclipse on New Year's Eve in 2028, which is, or rather will be, an actual event. It will be visible only in the Eastern Hemisphere at 1652 UT. That's cool. See, that's neat. That's one of the better ones so far. Quantum computing thing is pretty... I actually don't... I'm a computer scientist, and I didn't learn... I went to university for computer science, but I didn't learn much about quantum computing. More just like the traditional computing. So that was kind of interesting to read, but still didn't really make much sense to me. It's like not technical enough for someone that knows a lot about computers. But anyways, that's beside the point. Sopril B. One of the drugs used by the Nonary bracelets, and an extremely powerful anesthetic. It is the first drug injected when a participant breaks one of the rules. This drug also appeared in Virtue's Last Reward's sister title, 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. It's created by Mr. H, who was the president of Cradle Pharmaceuticals, and appeared in 999. He developed it by extracting and purifying an alkaloid from a variety of mandrake. High usage can lead to some side effects, including a severe memory loss. It can also be aerosolized and used as an anesthetic or knockout gas. Tubocurine, one of the drugs used by the Nonary bracelets, and an extremely powerful muscle relaxant. This is the second drug injected by the bracelets if a rule is broken. The tubocurine is injected 9 minutes after the sopril. It causes the respiratory muscles to cease functioning and the body perishes from lack of oxygen. Tubocurine is a component in some of the poisons used by indigenous populations in South America, who tip their arrows with poison when hunting. It can be counteracted with a cholinesterase inhibitor. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's not clear if the Nonary Game facility has any of this antidote available. ADAM. Acronym for the Automatic Diagnosis and Analysis Machine. This device uses nuclear magnetic resonance imaging to examine and diagnose anyone put into it. Similar to the MRI machines you might find in modern day hospitals, only much smaller and more efficient. An advanced computer built into the device can automatically diagnose most issues and ailments. Like if you have, for instance, cybernetic arms. The subject of a diagnosis is already deceased, the Atom can perform a virtual autopsy to determine the cause of death. This is scary, given the current circumstances. But I don't think we need to read that. We read that throughout the game. When an epidemic spreads beyond a certain area, it becomes a pandemic. Some historical pandemics include cholera, typhoid fever, tuberculosis, the Black Plague, and smallpox. Certain influenza outbreaks have also reached pandemic or near pandemic levels of infection. In Spain in 1918, an influenza outbreak was said to have caused 40 to 50 million deaths. And currently we're going through the COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully, if someone's watching this later on, it's all over and things are back to normal, because it's pretty crazy right now. Radical 6. Stay safe out there, everybody. Powerful virus whose worldwide spread is an integral part of the story. If you want to know what radical and 6 mean, you'll just have to play the game and find out. Okay. Primary chromatic doors. I think we need to read that. Yeah. EU stands for erotic units. EU is a system developed to measure a combination of physical, emotional, and situation attractiveness. Is this okay? It ranges from 0 to 20. This is actually a real thing. Oh my god. Ranges from 0 to 20, where 20 might be Marilyn Monroe and 0 might be Gilbert Gottfried. What? Gilbert? I wonder if Gilbert Gottfried knows that this game is dissing him. For the curious, Danny Trejo rates 16 EU. Okay. Just being sexy does not guarantee a high EU rating. Not to be confused with competing systems of hotness or sexability, the EU system weighs a number of factors such as practicality, sustainability, emotional investment, and the bias of the observer. Women with a high E rating have usually mastered the art of the T's. I don't know what's wrong with the writers of this game, but they need to like get out more or something. I don't. Grandpa videos? A collection of films that Tenmyouji has gathered. Their content isn't really explicit per se, but they still aren't really appropriate for someone Quark's age. It should be noted that the term does not imply that videos contain grandpas or grandpa-like actors. What the fuck? Sigma's cat problem. This is more interesting. Sigma has a strange verbal and possibly psychological tic, which causes him to make cat puns whenever he talks about cats. The cause of this behavior seems to be an experience he had as a child. When Sigma was in preschool, there was a deserted house near his school that everyone called the Cat Mansion. He'd always loved cats, so every day he would visit the Cat Mansion and give the cats that lived there some of his lunch. One day he realized that he could understand what the cats were saying to one another. Magical Black Cat appeared and told him that, did you do some mushrooms before this? And told him that it had given him this gift in exchange for giving food to its fellows. But the magical cat said, "You could never tell anyone about your gift," the magical black cat warned. "If you do, you'll be cursed." But young Sigma was so happy about his newfound ability that he slipped and told a girl about it, so the black cat cursed him. His curse was to speak only in cat puns for the rest of his life. Fortunately for him, magical white cat came along soon afterward, felt the curse was a little too harsh and lessened it, so that he would only talk in cat puns when he talked about cats, and they lived happily ever after. This is fucking weird. A device that converts sound, a phone. I think we understand what a phone is. The invention of the telephone is generally credited to Alexander Graham Bell in 1876, but there is dispute in some circles as to whether or not this is the truth. Wasn't there like an Italian person that is also taking credit for inventing the telephone? I don't recall his name. I'm sure Blacko will let us know. Golem. The golem is an anthropomorphic creature from Jewish folklore. Golems are made from clay and will obey any orders given to them by their creators without question, although they tend to take instructions very literally. A golem is created by performing a holy ritual, then kneading the clay into the shape of a person, chanting a spell, and writing the Hebrew word emet, truth, on the golem's forehead. Erasing the E changes the word to met, which is Hebrew for death. Doing this deactivates the golem. Oh, that's cool. One of the golems found in the Nonary Game facility, he is discovered lying in the maintenance table in the Golem Bay. His product ID is GTMCMGOLM. He asked to be referred to by the last bit, which is, of course, Golem, or G-OLM, which, to his surprise, this ends up being pronounced like Golem. Anyway, on a side note, GTMCMGOLM stands for Golem Type Male Cockney Model Number Golem. Cockney. All right, yeah. Okay, we went through the Chinese room. I guess we can read this, though. The Chinese room is a thought experiment developed by American philosopher John Searle to contest some of the ideas about artificial intelligence. The experiment itself is explained in more depth in the game, but the general idea behind it is to pose the question do intelligent responses indicate actual understanding? Surly, I think it's Surly, contests that a computer could be programmed to respond intelligently in conversation with humans, so much so that it would seem to be human itself, but that it would not necessarily, or perhaps could not actually understand what it was saying. Of course, this raises the question, how can we know that human minds are not, in essence, Chinese rooms? Can we really say that we understand the things we say, or are we just simulating understanding? The Turing test. This one I'm more familiar with because we studied this. The Turing test is designed to gauge a computer's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior. First developed by British mathematician Alan Turing, the test has 3 participants, a human judge, a human subject, and a machine. The judge engages in conversation with the human and the machine And if the judge cannot determine who is the machine and who is the human, the machine is considered to have passed the Turing test. When Phi mentions that perhaps she and her companions have been captured to perform a test, she's referring to the Turing test. Supplementary AB rules. Wait, there's a second GOLM? Okay. An acronym for General Purpose Autonomous Labor Electronic Machine. GOLMs are robots developed and sold by an American corporation called Hephaestus Systems. Hephaestus? That sounds like a Greek name that I'm not familiar with. Some of the units in this facility, however, have had their software significantly enhanced by Zero Senior. A portion of them have also been given ABT, created by Zero Senior. Incidentally, ABT is short for Artificial Biological Tissue. Golem's story, the point. The gist of Golem's somewhat rambling explanation that the center of thought doesn't necessarily have to reside in the body. In the case of the Golem, the self clearly resided in the mainframe and operated the body remotely. Since a self-aware robot could exist this way, he theorized, that would prevent humans from doing the same. Oh, sorry, what would prevent humans from doing the same? If humans are actually being controlled by an outside force, then is there actually any such thing as free will? No. Yes. Wound 1. Wound 2. These are just reviewing the wounds on the Akane? Yeah, I think so. Coroner. Not to be confused with a coroner. A coroner is a government official who assists law enforcement by investigating the causes of death and dealing with the paperwork and logistics surrounding corpses. It can also be used colloquially to refer to someone who performs these duties, whether or not they are actually employed by the government. An autopsy is a post-mortem surgery that examines a body in detail to determine the cause of death and evaluate any diseases or injuries that might be present. It is also super gross. Ew! Luminol is an organic compound. What? This is such a weird thing. It's just like, they're trying to educate people? Luminol is an organic compound with the chemical formula C8HZN3O2. When mixed with a hydroxide salt and hydrogen peroxide, it will glow blue when it comes in contact with blood and certain other substances. This property has made it a useful tool in criminal investigations, where it can reveal blood stains that have been cleaned up. Keep this in mind the next time you're contemplating how to deal with the neighbors listening to death metal at 3 in the morning. Bracelet 2. First glance, K's bracelet seems different from the others. Specifically, it appears to be attached to his suit. Although the design is slightly different, it is not part of his suit. The bracelet is attached directly to his wrist, with the face looking out through a hole in his armor. Just like the other bracelets, it will only come off when he escapes, when his heart stops beating. Generalized amnesia, memory condition where the sufferer retains knowledge such as language, social common sense, and so on, but memories of their own past and personality disappear. Its cause is usually psychological, but in rare cases, it can be caused by serious head trauma. Case suggested that an extremely painful breakup might have been the cause of his condition, but generalized amnesia usually requires a much more powerful trigger than breaking up with someone. In fact, a painful breakup often has the opposite effect. You want desperately to forget, but find that to be impossible, which leads to all sorts of other mental disorders, or so the person sitting behind me says. Okay. Cooked food. Twice cooked pork. Szechuan dish. It is made by pan-frying pork, cabbage, bell peppers, and green onions with doubanjiang or Tenmyouji for flavor. Paella, a Spanish dish where one cooks rice, meat, seafood, and vegetables in a shallow pot seasoned with saffron. Nasi goreng, an Indonesian dish made with pan-fried rice seasoned with sambal, kicap manis, and terasi. I'm not familiar with that. Schnitzel, German dish. It is made by mixing together meat, flour, eggs, and breadcrumbs, and frying the mixture in butter or lard. Yukgajang, a Korean dish. The process involves stewing beef, vegetables, namu, and powdered chili peppers together very slowly. The resulting meal is very spicy. Borscht, a Russian dish. Preparation is very simple. You just stew meat and vegetables together for a long time. Finished meal is garnished with beets and sour cream. I've never actually had borscht. Tom Kha Gai. A Thai dish made by stewing chicken, chili peppers, ginger, and nampula in coconut milk. Very spicy. That sounds really good. Chef's pasta. Whatever the chef feels like making. Sometimes you don't know what it is until you take a bite. Sometimes you don't even know then. Words 03 says before he leaves. There are a few variations. Have a nice trauma, have a nice trace, have a nice trumpet. Okay. Free the soul. We read about Free the Soul and the Myrmidons. We went through all this. Oh, this might be interesting. The founder of Free the Soul, although he prefers not to be referred to as such. As a child, he had a younger brother whom he was very fond of. Unfortunately, the worst happened and the younger brother was murdered. Rage and despair filled brother. And for 9 days and 9 nights, he was consumed by his own misery. 9. On the morning of the 10th day, however, he had a revelation. Mankind was rife with base desires and needed to be purified so that a new world could come into being. God had spoken to Brother and given him a mission. Brother dedicated his life to realizing that mission, and at the age of 26, he established Free the Soul of Y. He claims that Y is a symbol for miracles. Bracelets 3. Oh, here's some information that isn't revealed in the game. The bracelet put on the left wrists of the 9 participants in the Ambidex game has an important feature that's never mentioned. As soon as it's put on, a needle on the underside activates, and it inserts itself in the wearer. That doesn't necessarily mean that it injects a drug, only that it activates and pierces the skin. Maybe there's something on the needle, or maybe there isn't. All that's certain is that when someone puts on the bracelet, they get poked. Why do we need to know that? AV game, okay. AV game 2, yeah. Penalty, voting machine, hazmat suit. The manual found in the PEC contains the following text in reference to these suits. The air in this facility is kept at a very high pressure. Okay, we've already read that. Scotch, a type of whiskey made in Scotland. Its unique aroma comes from the peat used in its manufacture. Scotch is Tenmyouji's favorite drink. He often claims a little scotch should scratch this itch after returning from work, which annoys Quark. Root beer float, a well-known drink made by putting a scoop of vanilla ice cream in some root beer, also known as a black cow. Quark is taken to saying root beer floats my boat, which warms Tenmyouji's heart. Okay. The facility has 2 stories. The top floor is referred to as floor A and the bottom floor is called floor B. The A and B supposedly stand for above and below. There's a rumor that the floors were actually named after a particular Swedish pop rock group from the 70s. But everyone involved in this project has insisted that is a vile and hurtful lie. ABBA? Okay. Researcher's Journal. We've gone over this. Sorry, I've been unable to develop one. Bodies of those dead from suicide oh, hold on. Those infected by Radical 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide. Okay, we need that. Oh, the brain. 1-3 holds that the disparity in time perception causes the brain to be flooded with massive amounts of information. Unable to keep up, it begins to fail. Whatever the cause, the infected invariably attempt to take their own lives, which is arguably the most terrifying aspect of the virus. Research suggests that a targeted antiviral could kill or at least disable Radical 6, but thus far we have been unable to develop one. It seems our best hope now is to harvest antibodies from someone with a natural immunity to the virus. The bodies of those dead from a suicide are piled up along the roads leading into and out of town. The entire area reeks with the stench of decay, and the sky is filled with the constant buzzing of flies. At times, their swarms are so thick that that when one passes, it feels as if a cloud has gone over the sun. Every day I see more crows, and rats are everywhere, feeding on the dead. Ironically, the only healthy-looking creatures are the stray cats, who have grown fat on a plentiful rodent diet. A few humans who have survived the outbreak have been locked away by the government in underground shelters. I don't know how many were saved, but I fear only a handful. Oh Lord, please let their future be a bright one. This is an excerpt from the journal of a researcher. Due to space constraints, some sections have been cut out. Jumpy doll. It sounds like someone named a doll Jumpy, but why? The Secret of Quark's. Oh my God! The Secret of Quark's hat. This is what I was asking for. I'm so glad I read these. Don't you think his hat looks kind of weird? There's that huge band that just wraps around his head. Is he hiding a pair of Ferengi ears? That is a Star Trek reference. Ferengi is it's a race of people from Star Trek that are obsessed with money, if you're not aware. Bit of a Star Trek nerd. Or maybe he's just a young Lobot. That I don't understand. Well, this is just between you and me, but he's got missiles in there. The sides of the hat are hiding those pods, like you see on helicopters or SAM sites. Except these missiles are tiny, and when he gets in trouble, both sides of the hat open up, and they just fly out all at once, like, psh. Just kidding. Actually, he just keeps snacks in there. Oh my God. I swear to God, whoever, like, the people that wrote this are like 13 years old. Excelsior. But maybe they had their kids rate parts of, like, this or something. An antiviral medication made to counteract Radical 6. More specifically, it's an antibody with a natural resistance to the virus. It was found and extracted from an individual in 2038, and then replicated using the IG replicator. An Excelsior injection is the only known way to fight off Radical 6 infection. 2038. Okay. Treatment pod. An amazing machine that augments an individual's natural ability to heal, strengthens their immune system, accelerates their metabolism, and can cure many otherwise incurable diseases. In addition, it can create personalized medicines. It can create personalized medicines. Perform gene therapy. By the way, if you guys want me to read through, if you're a game developer, you want me to read through your text and find errors, I'd be happy to help you out with that. I never understand how, like, if someone just has to read this and realize that, like, there's an error, but I know it's game development's hard. And even repair the effects of radiation damage. What an incredible machine. And you know what? I make mistakes all the time, and I understand. So I'm not being tough on you. I'm just saying I'm available at a steep price. It's not that incredible if it can't cure Radical 6, you say. Yes, well, I guess you've got a point. But don't worry, it also has a function called cold sleep. Cold sleep uses CAS freezing to freeze the entire body without damaging it. That way, even if the disease you have can't be cured, it can be frozen until a cure is found. Yeah, it's hard for me to criticize because I'm like, I make all kinds of mistakes when I'm reading stuff, so. Cold sleep. There are generally two types of cold sleep. The first type involves lowering your internal body temperature. This reduces your basal metabolic rate and induces a state similar to hibernation. In other words, your body is still actively functioning, just very slowly. The other sort of cold sleep is the one in this game. This involves freezing your body to essentially lock it in whatever state it was in. Until recently, this was impossible because the expansion and crystallization that took place during the freezing process irrevocably damaged human tissue. In the world where this game takes place, however, CAS technology has overcome this hurdle and made cryonics a reality. The resuscitation rate is nearly 100%. In fact, you'd be much more likely to die in a plane crash, which means that freezing yourself to visit the future is safer than flying from Tokyo to Milan. CAS stands for Cells Alive System. It allows organic tissue to be safely and non-destructively frozen. In this game, CAS is used to put people in cold sleep. It super cools the subject with a magnetic field and causes them to freeze, almost instantly, preventing crystallization. In real life, the problem comes when you try to thaw something out, which also must be done instantly. In this game, however, the technological magic of the treatment pod makes returning from cold sleep possible. See, there you go. There's a reading mistake. The past two Nonary games. November 2018, 16 children were reported missing. In actuality, 18 children were taken, but 2 were never reported. The person in charge was someone we will refer to as H. The purpose of the game was to conduct experiments on morphic resonance, the children as test subjects. I won't go into the specifics here, but the short version is that this was the first Nonary game. November 1st, 2027, a total of 9 people participated in this session. They were abducted just as the children had been, but this time H was not in charge of the game. Clover was a participant in both games, and now she finds herself playing the Nonary game yet again. Esper resonance. In the context of this game, Espers are people with the ability, or ESPers. I call them Espers. I believe, like, Final Fantasy VI is the first time that I kind of encountered that term. I think they were always supposed to be called ESPers, but people just called them Espers. So caught on. And I'll probably continue to call them Espers. Are people with the ability to access the morphogenetic field. An Esper can increase the strength of their signal by being in close proximity to other Espers, assuming they are the strongest. The strongest signal will absorb any weak ones nearby and use them to amplify its own strength. Sort of like waves. The biggest wave adds the amplitude of smaller waves to its own and covers them up. Nonary veterans. The following 9 people were participants in the Nonary game that Clover claims to have been a part of. Just having a bit of water. I've been reading for a half an hour. Ace, middle-aged man. Snake, Clover's older brother, real name Light. Santa, arrogant, uncooperative young man. Clover, still Clover, just younger and with a jacket. Yeah. Junpei, hero of 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. Junpei's childhood friend, real name Akane Kurashiki. 7, amnesic detective. Lotus, attractive programmer, has 2 daughters. Kubota, skittish man, gets blown up. Okay, I don't think I ever knew his name, or I didn't remember his name. Neostigmine, a type of carbamate compound which acts as a reversible acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. Exciting the parasympathetic nerve. This allows, I really love trying to figure out how to pronounce words. This allows it to counteract the effects of the muscle relaxant tubicurine. It can be delivered with an injection gun like the one you see here. All right, Ice 9. Ice 9 is a special form of water with a melting point of 36 degrees Celsius. In other words, it freezes at room temperature. The idea of Ice 9 was originally put forth by the American science fiction author Kurt Vonnegut. His version of Ice 9 has a melting point of 45.8 degrees Celsius. There's a rumor that says all the water in Alice's body is actually Ice 9. Who knows whether it's true or not. But if it is, then she has to always keep her body temperature above 36 degrees Celsius. H. This refers to Jintaro Hongu. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was one of the characters who appeared in 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. He was the person who supervised the kidnapping of the children who participated in the Nonary game in 2018. He's the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals and a devoted follower of Free the Soul. Morphogenetic field theory. This theory holds that there is a sort of field where the forms, structures, patterns, etc. of everything in reality are stored. This includes abstract things like language, song, thoughts, inspiration, culture, customs, and ideas. Any information contained, transmitted, or created by matter is held in the morphogenetic field. In the Zero Escape series, people who can communicate by accessing this field are known as Espers. If morphogenetic field theory is true, however, then it would mean that, in a sense, all humans are Espers of a sort. Immunoglobulin is an important part of the body's defense against viruses, bacteria, and other invaders. It identifies and neutralizes certain threats. The IG replicator found in the lab gets its name from the immunoglobulin. Integer factorization. Factorization is the process of reducing a number to a series of numbers that, when multiplied together, give the original number. When taken to its logical conclusion, this will yield a list of prime numbers. For the purposes of factorization, one is not considered a prime number. A relatively well-known Latin phrase, it might look like it's talking about a pair of sexy toaster waffles. Ego errors. Okay. But it actually means something like, what you are, I was. What I am, you will be. Sometimes used as an epitaph. The implication is that the person in question was once alive, like the reader, but that the reader will someday also be dead. A little ominous, I guess. Special Office of Internal Security. Or SOIS, is an elite intelligence organization under the jurisdiction of the Department of Defense. They investigate potentially disruptive or dangerous elements such as domestic or foreign terrorists, radical political splinter groups, and religious organizations with extreme agendas that could pose a threat to the state or the citizenry. Their stated purpose is to maintain peace, but their charter authorizes them to arrest, detain, or even kill. Scary. Prisoner's Dilemma, we've been through that. Antimatter bomb. We went through that a number of times. Detonator. I think we all know what a detonator is. Cybernetic arm. Okay. A device originally created to weaponize genetically engineered psychic bears. A device originally created to weaponize genetically engineered psychic bears. Just kidding. It's actually an arm augmented for online sex chat. 13, telling you. Not really. It's like they just went through puberty. Not really. In truth, it's the arm from a mysterious libido-powered robot. I'm just messing with you. A cybernetic arm is actually a mechanical limb that you can control with your mind. I regret reading this. Really, it has titanium alloy for bones, and those are covered with ABT or artificial biological tissue. The ABT even has artificial nerves. I see. So if I had like read this, I probably would have predicted this. Like, if I had read this before it was revealed, I probably would have predicted that was what was going on with Sigma. It has veins that connect to the rest of your body, because a lot of you were telling me not to read these things before I finished the game. It has veins that connect to the rest of your body, so if you inject medicine into a cybernetic arm, it'll flow to the rest of your body. Okay. So there you go. There's that's how stuff is affecting Sigma. Luna's necklace. The necklace Luna is never seen without has a cage containing a blue bird hanging from it. If you twist the key on the bottom, it plays music. Someone special gave it to her as a gift, and she says it reminds her of the following lesson. Search for happiness wherever you can, because the search itself is what will make you happy. I really like that message. We went through this a bunch of times, and not harm humanity. We went through that. Swimsuit. For some reason, Sigma, or perhaps the author, seems to be unnaturally obsessed with swimsuits. Why is that? Was he involved in a horrible swimsuit accident, now repressed? In his youth? Did he have a crush in high school on a girl on the swim team who put her Olympic aspirations ahead of any possible romance? Is he just a perv? The world may never know. Okay, that's not very interesting. Antimatter reactor. In a general sense, an antimatter reactor is a system that generates electricity or some other form of power from matter-antimatter reactions. This facility uses hydrogen and antihydrogen. The reactions power a turbine, which generates energy and powers everything in the facility. It looks like a gigantic octopus, but it's definitely not edible. No matter how you cook it, everything's edible. Antihydrogen atom. Particular type of antimatter, normal hydrogen atoms have one proton and one electron, but an antihydrogen atom has the opposite one. One antiproton and one positron. In November 2010, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, issued a statement announcing that they had captured an antihydrogen atom. They claimed that they had gathered 38 of them, in fact, and managed to hold them in a special container for 0.2 seconds. Less than 6 months later, in June 2011, they managed to capture several more antihydrogen atoms and contain them for more than 1,000 seconds. Although the creation and storage of antimatter is still a difficult obstacle, these results suggest that antimatter reactors could someday be a possibility. Huh, I didn't know that. TNT equivalent. TNT is often used as a reference point when discussing the power of explosive devices. Specifically, the explosive power is usually described by tonnage. The amount of energy 1 ton of TNT produces approximately 4.184 gigajoules. This means that an explosive device with an output of 1 megaton generates 4.184 petajoules. TNT stands for Trinity Tallow. No. Trontitilitrin. No. Trinidad and Tobago? Ah, yes. Trinitrotoluene. That's it. It's one of the most common explosives, which is how it came to be a reference point. A kilogram of TNT has 4.184 megajoules of energy, but a kilogram of butter has 30 megajoules. Okay. Butter is some dangerous stuff. equals mc squared. Einstein's famous equation, put simply, it means that energy is equal to mass times the speed of light squared. Describes how much energy you get by annihilating matter with antimatter, a lot. But also carries the interesting implication that with enough energy, you could theoretically create matter. 63 terajoules. The amount of energy you get by combining 350 milligrams each of matter and antimatter. Okay. Floor B graffiti. Memento Mori, if the ninth lion ate the sun. It appears to have been written in some sort of weird paint. Memento Mori is a Latin phrase that translates roughly to remember death / mortality. Ninth clearly refers to ninth, but seems to have been spelled wrong, likely on purpose. Why? Perhaps it's an anagram like the words on the wall in the floor A warehouse. If it is, what does this one mean? Hourglass. The hourglass displayed in the background is actually a 4-second timer. It doesn't have much practical use except maybe for really impatient people. If you're at a restaurant waiting for your food to come out, for instance. Hey, how long are you going to make me wait? I've already flipped this hourglass 100 times. Technically, 100 times would only be 400 seconds, which is 6 minutes and 40 seconds, but saying 100 times is much more dramatic and therefore much more likely to get a desirable response from the wait staff. Okay, the gentle points. These are a measure of how much of a gentleman you are. Oh my god. Somewhere deep in the United Kingdom is an organization that tracks all gentlemen, determining their caliber based off of an ancient and Byzantine collection of rules and guidelines. Every year during the spring, a representative of this organization conducts a cursory investigation of each member's behavior, or at least appears to, and then awards gentle points based on what they saw. The following formula is used. Old ladies escorted across the street times top hats owned times puzzles solved. Hey! Times money given to gentleman tracking organization equals total gentle points. Why did I just read that? Okay, that's the knife. 4B hallway locks. Sort of the hallways. This is like, that background is really bad for this text. It's like, it's exhausting just trying to read it. Several of the hallways on floor B use special locks indicated on the map by arrows. On the far side of each arrow is a lever. Pulling these levers will unlock the locks. Once this had been done, you can explore the entire area at your leisure. Principle of causality. The law of cause and effect, specifically that a cause must precede every effect. At the quantum level, however, things aren't quite as immutable. This background's also really bad. Principle of quantum superposition holds that any physical system, such as an electron, exists at least partially in all of its theoretical states or configurations, but when measured gives a result corresponding to only one of them. Classic example of this is the double slit experiment, where light appears to behave as both a wave and a particle. One of the interesting implications of this is that in a sense you are influencing the past by observing a system. You are defining the cause of an effect you witness, and in a way altering the past. Normally I would comment here that the quantum level is where shit gets real. But given the nature of this phenomenon, it seems like it would be more accurate to say that the quantum level is where shit gets unreal. Knox's 10 Commandments. Ronald Knox, a mystery writer from the UK, published the following as his rule for writing a mystery novel. Oh, I don't know if we went over this. 1. The criminal must be mentioned early on. 2. All supernatural or preternatural agencies are ruled out. 3. No more than one secret room or passage. 4. No hitherto... I'm just trying to think, did this follow the rules? No hitherto undiscovered poisons may be used, nor any appliance which will need a long scientific explanation. Definitely not. 5. No one with extrasensory perception or similar powers can appear. Okay, it's definitely not following the rules. 6. No accident must ever help the detective, nor must he ever have an unaccountable intuition which proves to be right. I had lots of those. 7. The detective must not commit the crime. 8. The detective must declare any clues he may discover. The detective must not commit the crime. Sigma was kind of the detective because we were playing as Sigma and did also commit the crime. It's interesting. None of these rules have been followed. 9. The stupid friend of the detective, the Watson, must conceal nothing from the reader. Or I guess, okay. Maybe Sigma is the Watson and Phi is the detective. 10. Twin brothers and doubles generally must not appear unannounced. Okay, that's one of the better ones. We're almost done. Sun, Moon, Starkey. Okay, slingshots. That's not really important. Test site mystery. The site in question was for a simulated manned mission to Mars held in the Nevada desert on New Year's Eve 2028. The audio logs from the simulation contain a woman's voice assumed to be one of the test's subjects, saying the following: 6 of us are dead, counting myself. There are only 3 left. I guess you could say I killed them. No, that's not quite right, but not just them, not just these 6, all of them, all 6 billion. Most evidence seems to suggest that this was the beginning of the Radical 6 outbreak, and that the Nevada facility was the epicenter of the pandemic. Oh, okay. I'm glad I read that. Termite. General term used to refer to the insects in the epifamily of Termitoidae, of the cockroach order Blitodidae. That's right. Even though they're sometimes called white ants, termites aren't even in the same family as ants. I didn't know they were called white ants. They're in the cockroach family instead. Also, king crabs are in the hermit crab order, and the remora is in the Perciformes order. Okay. Word 03 says before he leaves, there are a few variations. Have a nice trouble, have a nice tragedy, have a nice trust. Conjunction. A term used in positional astronomy, but simply it means that 2 celestial bodies appear near one another in the sky. When used in the context of our solar system, it often refers to a position where a given celestial body is aligned with the sun. For example, when Mars is on the opposite side of the sun from the Earth, it is considered to be in conjunction with the Earth. Mercury and Venus, which orbit closer to the sun than the Earth does, have 2 types of conjunction. When they are hidden on the other side of the sun, this is referred to as superior conjunction. When they are lined up on the near side of the sun, this is called inferior conjunction. Tenmyouji's picture. This is the photograph that Tenmyouji was holding. The subject is a girl named Akane Kurashiki. Akane was one of the people who appeared in this game's sister title, 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. It's interesting they don't refer to it as like a prequel, the sister game. Like as in like this game could be played entirely on its own. I guess it could be. As a childhood friend of Junpei, that title's main character, in 999 she was 21 years old. This picture was taken 9 years before then, when she was 12. Look at the left side of the picture. If you look closely, it almost looks like there's a man grinning in the background. Do you see him? Don't worry if it seems a little strange. A spirit medium has told us that the person in this picture is a guardian spirit who's looking after her. He must have shown up here because he'd heard what sort of destiny she'd had in store. Decided to see how she was doing. Okay. Minkowski's space. A way of describing a reality that adds a 4th dimension of time to the 3 dimensions of space. It was described by the German mathematician Hermann Minkowski, and therefore bears his name. It's also the name of a ski resort for miniature cows. Mini cows ski. Lagomorph. The scientific name for the order to which rabbits belong, and 0's actual name. Tenmyouji and Alice. When they were split up at the red, blue, and green chromatic doors, Tenmyouji told Alice that there was something he had to tell her. That something was, of course, his identity, and that he already knew all about Alice and Ice 9. And not because he'd heard about it from Clover. Tenmyouji and Clover. After the second round of the AB game, after going through the purple and green doors, Clover, as a solo, was heard to say the following to Tenmyouji, her opponent. What the heck did you mean with all that? It's not fair. If you're telling the truth, then So what did Tenmyouji said to her? The same thing he'd meant to say to Alice, of course. He told her who he was. That simple fact shook Clover's resolve and made her vote ally. It probably hadn't been his original intention to betray her, but after thinking about Quark's safety, he probably felt he had no choice and picked betray. AB Project. A can stand for after and B for before, but they can also stand for anima and body. Everything that happened in this facility was part of the AB Project. The mystery of Phi. So who was Phi? There are a few clues scattered throughout the story, but nothing conclusive. Perhaps the truth will be revealed at the Nevada test site. Ooh, like maybe the next game? Maybe more about that? I got the impression that she, you know, there's talk of coroners and stuff. She loved to like investigate dead bodies. Maybe she's a coroner. Deactivation passwords. Here's a little something more about the bomb deactivation passwords. Those passwords, they aren't just gibberish. There's something hidden in each one. I can only give you one hint. +1. Good luck. There's a lot more to the story, but I think we'll stop the secret archives here. Thank you for playing, and we hope you enjoyed the game. When I see +1, so you can either add 1 to them. I also think phone numbers. That's actually the, yeah, that's like the country code for Canada, and I think the US. But these are letters. Could be converted to numbers, though. Wouldn't be phone numbers, though. They're not long enough. Anyways, that's it, everybody. That concludes the secret files and my playthrough of Virtue's Last Reward. I'm actually just going to do one final save. Feels like the end. And we're right on 30. We're right at the end. 54 hours, 25 minutes, 28 seconds. Wow. Let's go back to the menu. We can turn the sounds on now. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this wonderful adventure, and I hope you'll also join me on... actually, let's go into the options, because there's actual music playing. I hope you will also join me on... through me playing through Zero Time Dilemma, which should start the same day that this video is released. If you really enjoy the playthrough and you want to support the channel, you can become a member. You can click on the screen, the button there in the bottom left. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can become a patron at patreon.com/Luckless LoveLocks. You can check me out on Twitter at Luckless LoveLock. You can check the link in the description to find me other places like twitch.tv/Luckless LoveLocks, where I live stream games. This is Luckless LoveLock signing off for good on Virtue's Last Reward. I'll see you in Zero Time Dilemma, and I love you all.